What's up, Hans family, and holy shit, welcome to HANZOWEEN. Best time of the year, if I say so myself. This is my third year doing HANZOWEEN, so if you have been with me years past, welcome back, thank you for showing up again. And if you're new, well, get ready to see some shit. This year, I will be putting out a tutorial every other day in October, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single thing. It only seemed fit to have a mummy rising from the grave as HANZOWEEN is rising up again as well. I'll have all product details listed down below. Well, let's just fucking get to it. We're starting off with these bandages. I got these from Amazon. They're super cheap, just like these big gauze bandages. And we want to dye them because they're way too white for our aged mummy, and I'm just using coffee and cocoa, or you can just use one or the other. Add a little bit of your not favorite coffee, because if you waste your favorite coffee, you are possibly the devil, so don't do that. But brew your coffee and put it in a large bowl and then just start adding in the gauze. It really doesn't take too long to dye. I added a little bit more cocoa just so it was extra dark. Let it sit for maybe a couple minutes or so and then take them out and wring them dry. A bonus is that they will now smell delicious too. Oh, you guys know, I gotta bring it in good with my model magic. That is my shit. It is an air drying clay, if you guys don't know, and it's really soft and lightweight, so you can build whatever you want, add it to your face really easy. I wanted to make these really big grubs. Oh god, saying the word grub just sounds strange to me. Anyways, just molding that out to the size I want and taking a palette knife to give small little ridges into it, just like any normal kind of big worm maggot would look. Ugh. They really don't take long to air dry, but just so you're on the safe side, I would leave them overnight, and the next day you can paint them. I'm using acrylic paints, but you could use body paints, whatever you have accessible to you. With some watered down paints, just so it's more of a wash, I paint them with a light yellow and then go back in with a brown tone to go inside the ridges, so that would be a little darker to really accentuate where those are. And add just the tiniest bit of white highlight on the very top so that they're nice and dimensional. You could leave them here, but I think they look really nice and clean if they have a glossy finish, so I'm just using a clear nail polish and letting that dry. Moving right along, I am going to build up the face on a Facecast. This is my first year using a Facecast of my own face, and holy shit, it's so helpful, but if you don't have a Facecast, that's totally fine. You can absolutely build this just onto your face. It's just nice to be able to see what you're doing in front of you. I'm using slip latex, which is a little bit thicker than the normal balloon latex. I went to Christy's house recently and used it, and it's so much better than normal balloon latex. So I'm coating it about 5 times just to give it a good base, and then using cotton to build up the face where I want it. Since we're a mummy, I'm going in with some really intense eyebrows. I want my eyes to be super sunken in. So make sure that your latex is still a little tacky when you put down your layer of cotton, and then just go balls to the wall and saturate that cotton so that you can really start molding the pieces that you want. You can see I'm just going in straight with my finger, but you can use sculpting tools. I just really like the feel of being able to get right where I want and feel exactly how much cotton's there, when I need to add more. And with it being so saturated, you can really push down the cotton until you get that nice soft edge. Work in layers all over your face or your face cast. And with this, I'm not letting the layers dry in between, I'm just continuing right on because all of it will dry overnight when we're all done. And I think that when it's still a little tacky and moist, oh god, another horrible word, it's a lot easier to mold. And here I'm using a straw just to smooth out the edges a little bit when my finger just can't quite get into those little ridges. Keep building up the features that you really want to protrude out of the face, but when it comes to the edges, try to leave it as the original latex we put down. That'll make the edges easier to blend into our skin later. Once you're happy with your layers around the face, the bigger cheekbones, kind of the hollowed out nose and the eyes, I went ahead and added where a wound would be on the forehead so that some of those little grubs we made earlier can be kind of coming out of. And that's just by adding a little bit of latex in a half moon shape or so, building up some cotton so it looks like the skin is raised, and making sure that there's a little bit of a ridge underneath so that that grub can just kind of stick right in. If you're building this on a face cast, it only took about a day to dry, and I started to lift the edges and just powder underneath and just pull it right off. Finally, to the makeup and application portion of the look. I already have a bald cap on, and I hold up the prosthetic to see exactly how it fits on my face, if I need to cut it down a little bit. Then I'm grabbing my Aide, which is a medical grade adhesive. It's really nice. You just put it down, wait till it gets clear, so it's really easy to know when it's dry and ready to go. Take out my nose ring, because don't really need that shit. And then just carefully put it on your face and press it down and hold for about 10 seconds. Here I'm grabbing Aide cream, which is different than just regular Aide. It's a little thicker, and it's really good for smoothing out edges so that it looks like your prosthetic is more blending into your skin. Alcohol paints are some of the coolest paints to use because they give more of a wash look, but you can also really saturate them on. I'm using this beige color in this palette and just dabbing it all over my face, mainly focusing on my prosthetic, and then going in with a darker brown just to start the contour process. Alcohol paints are also awesome because you can really just keep layering them. I put the brown down, then I go back over with the beige so it looks more under the skin. And if you put on too much, you can always just add just a little bit of alcohol, and that will help to water it down. Alcohol it down, I guess. The mold that you made earlier is really going to help you with this because it'll show you exactly where you need to add shadow and highlight. And I didn't want it to be too brown and beige, so I started adding a lot of red to make it look more irritated skin and kind of blood vessels are breaking. So I'm going in with red around some of the darker spots of the face, still going in with the beige to lighten some of the tones out, still thinking of the layering process, starting with some of the first layers and building from there. Everywhere that would go deep into the skin, like a wrinkle or some of the rotting flesh, you want to add plenty of dark tones. And I really loved the idea of veining on this look. So with this, I used just a little bit of alcohol so the paint was really opaque, drew out where I wanted the vein, and then I tapped it out just a little bit while it was still wet to give more an under the skin effect. Always starting out lighter, and then where the other veins would start to meet, I added just a little bit more color on top. And this you can go around your entire face and use the veining to even cover up some of the areas you may not love that much, maybe a couple little chunky cotton pieces here and there. The paint job will really sell it. Since my prosthetic was just on the upper portion of my face, I continued the exact same process down the rest of my face, just so that it was nice and cohesive, and then darkened out my nose with a deep red. When you are around such sensitive areas, especially your eyes, I would suggest not using alcohol and switching over to a cream-based product. I'm using the Makeup Forever Flash palette and mixing the red and black just to get a deep red. And just like everything else, since it's pretty cohesive and blended, I'm just rubbing the color around the edges of the eye holes onto the prosthetic a little bit so that it's not such a stark edge from my eye to the prosthetic. With the face being pretty close to done now, I want to incorporate my body into the look. Even though we're a wrapped up mummy, it would still show through a little bit. So I'm darkening out where my collarbones will be popping out a little bit, layering it, drawing in some really sunken in lines as my mummy is slowly being eaten away. For the lips, I was still just using the Flash palette, mixing together a few colors to get more of my skin tone, and darkening up the outer corners of the lips and underneath too. I also added these little lines, but I took them away later because I didn't quite love them. And finally, as always, would this even be a Jordanhanz tutorial if there wasn't highlighting at the end? Using a white cream-based product, I add just a few little highlights here and there where the light would be hitting the high points of our face and body, just to get a well-rounded look. Oh shoot, now our little grubs that we made, those are one of the coolest parts. I cut the edge off just a little bit so it would fit better into my wound that I had made. Add a little Aide down and stick it. And I couldn't just stop there. This is a nasty fucking mummy. I wanted to add even more of a nasty element to it. So I'm taking this Mayround 3D gel, which is a gelatin that you just heat up in a warm bowl of water for a few minutes. I'm squeezing that right directly where the maggot grub thing is coming out of. And as it starts to dry, it'll stay in place. So you can use a brush to even manipulate it into the spots you want. And ooey, it looks really nasty in the end. Ugh. You could leave your mummy hairless, but I prefer a little bit of hair. So I'm grabbing this white crepe hair and just adding a little bit and a few sparse pieces on top of the head with Aide. Oh man, and this final step, lube. But it needs to be this lube. This lube is the shit. I'm only talking about special effects makeup, okay? I'm not talking about other things. Don't be dirty. That's hurtful. This brought the entire look together by putting some lube on the face so that it was nice and shiny and it stays in place. I didn't even have to reapply it after hours of filming. It just finishes it so nicely. And again. Last step is costume. I had Daniel help me wrap myself all the way up. It was a little hard to do by myself, so maybe have a friend help you. And grab your gauze with your fingers and really pull at it. That'll make it look aged and rough and distressed. Pop in whatever contacts you want to wear. If you do decide to wear these white mesh ones, your vision is limited, but you still can somewhat see. And this is the final look. Oh, I really hope you guys liked it. It's honestly one of my favorite looks that I've done to date. Let me know what you think down below and shoot me a thumbs up if you're super excited for HANZOWEEN like I am. I also did want to let you guys know that I am nominated for the American Influencer Awards. You can go to AIAawards.com and vote for your favorites. There's tons of categories, and I would love to earn your vote. I just love the absolute fuck out of you guys, and I will see you the day after tomorrow. Bye!